So, this one's going to be again about the Icarus Deception by Seth Godin, and this time it's going to be about something actually pretty essential and something pretty cool and pretty amazing. Actually, in the first, the beginning of the whole thing is going to be just amazing. Then, of course, there's also going to be just some other amazing things, but yeah, I'll see you after the intro. As always. Quite, as always. And with that being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast, and I am pretty pumped for this episode. Let's actually have it like this. I think it is better like that, isn't it? Please check out the description, or that description actually, because there's a lot of free things that you can get. First of all, there is the link to the podcast, because this is actually a podcast and a YouTube quote-unquote show. On the other hand, you're also going to get 3 things, as I said. For example, the free PDFs of the things that I've highlighted in this episode or in other episodes. If I've highlighted something, then it is going to be in a tiny PDF. You can download it and print it and share it and do whatever with it. And there is everything in this that I've gone through in this episode, which is pretty amazing because some people like to listen, therefore we're having a podcast. Some people like to watch, therefore we're having the YouTube videos. And some other people like to read things, and this is why there's also the free PDF. And there's as well some music, so if you do want to have some background music in this video, then please also check out the 3rd link, or it's actually, I think, the 4th link, but 3rd section, something like that. And there's also just different tracks to choose from, and they're all, I think, an hour long, so you should be fine. Everything should be fine, should be good to go. And yeah, enjoy the episode, and I'm gonna see you. Hello. Yeah, hello. And yeah, let's actually move right into it. There it actually is. So yesterday we have stopped with, I think if you rely on external motivation to be your best self, then you will have ceded responsibility and authority to someone else. You will be judged by how well your boss does at motivating you and not based on who you are. Which is a thing, and I've also been talking about it yesterday, of course. Something pretty essential, something pretty interesting and important as well, because if you do indeed rely on other people's ability to motivate you, then it's not going to be that long-term-ish happiness, I would say, because building your own motivation and being able to just motivate yourself is something that's pretty cool. First of all, it's pretty cool to being able to do so, let alone that it is also something that's quite important. Because there isn't always going to be somebody around, Or if it is also music, there isn't always going to be music. So what happens if there's no music? Are you then just going to be completely fucked or completely whatever? No, it's not good. So working on one's quote-unquote self-motivation, if you want to call it like that, I don't want her, so let's not. Well, yeah, anyways, so I think it is something important, and I think it is something that makes sense to work on, I would say, kind of. But yeah, the next thing is psychologist Angela Duckworth has outlined elements they call grit. And I've then actually looked it up because I didn't really remember it, even though I've went through the book Grit also on a podcast, so there might be a summary of it laying around somewhere. But grit is passion and perseverance for long-term and meaningful goals. It is the ability to persist in something you feel passionate about and persevere when you face obstacles. This kind of passion is not about intense emotions or infatuation. I don't even know what infatuation means. Love for, adoration of, desire for, and forwardness. This kind of passion is not about intense emotions or infatuation. Yes, and I think this is quite of an important sentence, since I know that Seth Godin is really not about passion and being passionate about something. In terms of just trying to do certain things that you're passionate about. He says that you can always find passion in whatever you're doing. And I also believe in that, and I also think so. And I also guess that it is the case. And I think that it might also be a good exercise to do so, to find passion in these things that you might not like that much, For example, some homework. Maybe you can find a meaning in that, or find something you like about it. Even though it is something that you absolutely hate and absolutely just don't like, there might be just still something that's meaningful or important or necessary or smart. Perseverance, because they believe they have no choice, not if they wish to be who they are. The next few things, or the next few words that are just capitalized there, or just fully in caps, I do not really get kind of the context Derek Sivers here is referring to. And by the way, the link to this article is going to be down in the description. Also, oh, by the way, I haven't done this in, I think, a month or something. I really have to upload the notes. So basically, everything that is highlighted there is going to be in a PDF. As I've already said, probably. But I haven't done this in a month or something. And I should really be doing this, because it is something that I'm talking about every single fucking episode, but I don't do it then. And it is laying around everywhere. So yeah, I'm probably going to do this just after the recording, I guess. I should do it after recording, let's put it like this. But I think perseverance as such is something, and also willpower, really perseverance, and just really sticking to things. And trying to see if some things are working, and trying to just, I don't know. Like, I would like to refer to perseverance to working out, I think, or I'd like to, because I think that it is a good example. I know there's not a lot of people that are just having a workout schedule, but it makes sense. And we all know that it is something healthy, and we all know that it is something that's also quite necessary. First of all, for being healthy physically, but also I would say, and I think also studies have shown, feeling healthy and being healthy in a mental way. And I do believe that, especially in these times where there is self-isolation and whatnot, that working out is actually a pretty good substitute for something else, for maybe going outside and doing some sports there, or just doing whatever. I do think that it is in general a really good way to balance your life, and a really good way to balance out things, because I don't know. I think this is something that Tim Ferriss was talking about with somebody else, but I don't really remember. But they said that it is just really something that's mindless. Working out is quite mindless. And I do have to say, yes, I think so. If you're working out, you're not thinking about too many things, rather than just how many sets you have to do, how many reps you have to do, how intense it actually is, and how painful it might also be. But you're not really thinking about something else. I mean, of course, sometimes we will, if there's something around that's really prominent and dominant and whatnot. Most often we are not really thinking about something else. And I do believe, and they also compared it to meditation. And I think, yes, meditation is definitely also some sort of a mindless act. Quite, at least you should not think. This is kind of the exercise there. But, which is not always that easy, really, really, really not. But therefore, they also said that it might be just a really good way to process things, even during the day, and even you're not sleeping and whatnot, just because it is so mindless that your body and also your mind is able to process everything that you have learned and everything that you have maybe experienced that day or the week before or whatnot. And they have been actually talking about this in terms of learning something, because studies have also shown that, I guess, I'm not quite sure, I think after 4 hours or 4 hours after, 4 hours before you're working out, if you learn something there, then you're going to remember it way better if you've then worked out 4 hours later. Quite, if this makes sense. Or something like that. I'm not quite sure about the numbers there, but there is something about working out and learning and the kind of results that you're getting from that, or just how good you have learned something, correlated to sports and doing sports and whatnot. It is something pretty interesting. But I think it just somehow makes sense, because, as I said, indeed, doing some sport is not that of a mental act. Most often. You could say sometimes, you could say most often. It really depends. I think from person to person, definitely. Hardiness. Then process that, or deprocess that event into something that will allow a bigger impact next time. I as well, and I'm sorry for the sound, probably, because I might have not cut it out. But the thing is, that will allow a bigger impact the next time. Then process that event into something that will allow a bigger impact the next time. For me, it sounds really like failure, hardiness. Is there this bread is renowned for its hardiness, robustness, healthiness, strength, toughness, vigor, ruggedness, sturdiness, resilience. I think it is somehow referring to failure and failing. And and thinking about failure as a thing that like, okay, yeah, I have failed. And it is not necessarily a good thing, like I'm thinking right now, like saying, okay, I failed. It's not necessarily something good. I don't really like it, but maybe the next time I'm actually going to make a bigger impact than this time, or than I would have ever been able to do at this point in time. And the thing is, I guess, I really don't know, that it is just a way to, or a point, or just, I don't know, I think it's just about failure and being able to cope with failure, since we all fail, over and fucking over again. I think every single episode that I'm uploading, and that is not really just, I don't know, catapulting me to just the top one YouTube channel or something, can be considered as a failure, I guess, somehow. And I also think about it, of course. But yeah, really being able to deal with failure and deal with not winning is something that I guess is quite of a difficult act. It's work, but it is important. Resilience turns every obstacle into a learning process. Yes, this could also be what I've meant, like just for the point before or for the thing before. But I guess like by taking it actually literal, just turns every obstacle into a learning process. Like there's a lot of things that we might face, and we can actually view it as a pain in the ass, as something painful, as something that's like a curse or whatnot. But we could also think about it as something that is trying to help us learn something, whatever it might be, whatever situation you might be in. You can probably learn something from that, whether it is. And I'm really not hoping that somebody died, or you losing something, an object, materialistic stuff, or you're losing something in terms of, I don't know, some memories. Could also be the case. Like there's so many things, but the perspective you're having on these things and quite all the things that you're facing in life and that you're having in life is still something that's really important. Ambition, which is the next one. Grit exists whether or not it leads to measurable external success. Grit is its own reward. And I guess I don't really know what this has something to do with, or what it has to do with ambition, or if it has something to do with ambition. But seeing the process as such as the goal is, of course, I would say not that of an easy thing, but sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it's a good thing to view things in this way, I'd say. Commitment. Consciously set long-term goals that are difficult to attain, and do not waver from these difficult goals, regardless of the presence of feedback. If you have sacrificed your long-term compass at the altar of instant feedback, you might enjoy some short-term achievement, but you have given up your grit. Yes, most often I just have to say, and I just want to say, long-term goals most often are the better goals rather than the short-term ones. Short-term, for example, and this is an example that I've probably brought up just a million times before. A short-term goal is smoking. Feeling the satisfaction of your cigarette is pretty short-term, because you know that in the long term it's not going to be healthy. You're probably going to die earlier, and you're probably not going to have such a nice life as somebody that is not smoking. So yeah, it is something that's short term. Long term, for example, might be maybe building a business, doing sports, because it is maybe painful in the short run or in the short term, but it is definitely going to be a very, very key factor for you being healthy and happy and young, maybe, if you want to, or agile, something like that. Flow. Swallowed up by our passion, focused beyond all reasons, deep into something we care about. It just only remembers me of or on the flow state that we sometimes are in, and the flow state, and I think it is also called Goldilocks rule. I don't really know if it is the same thing, but it somehow is kind of the same. They both say that it is about having something that is not too difficult and having something that's not too easy. Just right on a sweet spot. Or right this sweet spot between difficult and just really easy. Because if something is really easy, and there's actually, I think, a book about it, I guess. I think Flow is a book. Well, anyway. Because if something is too easy, then we get bored by it relatively easily. Maybe after some time that we're gonna feel like, well, it is too easy, and I shouldn't be doing that and whatnot. But if it is too difficult, it discourages us. And it is in the end not something that we can do for longer than, I don't know, an hour or something. So it just really has to be right on the edge to being, I think, too difficult. Rather, even though, I'm just thinking about it, since if you say that it should be right in the middle, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. But if you say it should be right on the edge to being too difficult, and I am very sorry. I don't know if I'm going to cut this out, but I always feel so sorry if I just have to do that. Blaming the system is soothing because it lets you off the hook. But why you weren't relying on a system in the first place? But why you were relying on a system? But why were you relying on a system in the first place? That's, I think, the right sentence. But yeah. Blaming the system, blaming somebody else, blaming everybody but oneself is something that's not good. Because you basically give somebody else the power to change however you're feeling and however the situation is and however something is. Which is just in general not something that's too nice and too good and too amazing. So basically having a look at that, and I think sometimes we default in this, unfortunately. Sometimes we do that, but we shouldn't. We indeed should not. Is this English? Is everything working there? I wonder how and I wonder why. Yesterday I've just seen a blue sky. Well, anyway, artists never stop looking for the disturbing truth behind the facade. When reality arrives, they won't be surprised because they saw it coming. Sometimes they even encourage it to come. Well, I don't really know what he is willing to say with that. Quite. But yeah. The question of today, just because I thought about it, are you blaming somebody else? Are you blaming somebody else, whether it is the system, whether it is another person, whether it is just technological things, your computer, your smartphone, for whatever things? Are you doing so? And if you do so, why? And think about it. And think about what the ROI of that is, so the return on investment. If you do this, what will happen? And I guess that most of it is going to be something that's quite negative that is happening. But yeah, this is today's question. Ask yourself why or if you're blaming somebody else or something. It's important. It's cool. My work is always about connecting with the audience, and that connection brings vulnerability with it. Here I am, and I have to stay. Here I am, I have to say. Is what I think, not what someone else said, not what some study said. Well, yeah, yeah. It kind of is a message to myself, I would say, because I don't know, I often rely on somebody else's article, as I'm just doing right now, or on something else, but not often. But, well, yeah, I do just add my stuff, of course, I do, but there hasn't been too many episodes of just me sitting here and talking about some things that I think about. Not really that often, But sometimes I'm just going through something and then I get an idea and then I talk about it for just way too long. So that I'm then going to be stressed out and stuff. Willing to stand up in front of people and own what I have to say. Which is basically like what he's doing, and basically also what I'm doing. Basically what a lot of other people are doing that are putting out something. Whether it is an article, whether it is something that I'm saying, or something that somebody says, or podcast, whether it is a movie as well. Because then you're pretty fucking vulnerable actually, because there's going to be people that are going to criticize you. There's going to be people that are doing something. There's going to be people that say whatever. Don't fix me, love me for what's broken. When our friend shares a litany of problems and explains why he's stuck, he's not asking for a solution. He's asking for empathy and understanding. But why won't he try to fix his problem? ? Perhaps they have become a crutch, a companion, perhaps a best friend for him now. Why not lean forward and use every tool available to take the huge steps to actually go forward, because forward is risky. And with that being said, this is going to be the last sentence of today. I wish you the best health, happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself and you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person and being remembered as a nice person. 3 other questions that I have you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe indeed even a business idea. But yeah, with that being said, thank you very much from the bottom of my fucking heart, and I'm hopefully going to see you the next time. So, bye-bye.